All right, strap in everybody, because today we are taking a deep dive, going under the hood of Varjo and, their latest and greatest
Hmm.
software update for the XR-4 series headsets. Varjo Base 4.4.
Okay.
That's right. We're talking pass-through
Yeah.
technology,
Yeah.
the kind that lets you see, we've talked about it a little. You
Yeah.
can see the real world
Yeah.
with like crazy clarity
Yeah.
while you're still immersed in XR.
Totally. And this is a big deal,
Okay.
especially for like anyone who really needs to work with,
Yeah.
fine details in XR,
Yeah.
like
Oh.
like reading text or trying to manipulate small objects, things like that.
So we're not just talking about like seeing your coffee mug in VR anymore.
Right.
This is like next level, bridging the gap between like real and virtual in a way that like actually
Yeah.
makes a difference in how we like work and learn and,
Precisely. And I think, one of the big things that they're really pushing with Varjo Base 4.4
Yeah.
is the size of the high-resolution focus area.
Okay.
So that, like, crystal clear part of your view, they've more than doubled it.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, imagine, like, being able to just read a document on your desk, like, without taking off your headset.
Okay.
And I don't mean, like, some,
Yeah.
blurry approximation.
Right. Yeah.
Varjo is claiming this is almost as clear as seeing with the naked eye.
That's a bold claim.
Yeah.
But I mean, it makes you think, like, how much more immersive can we, can XR get
Right.
if we can, like, seamlessly integrate those real world details? Like, I mean, what does that mean for, fields like,
Right.
design or engineering or even like
Yeah, like even surgery.
Right.
I mean, think about it. The possibilities are kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Imagine, like, a surgeon in training, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they can actually practice a procedure
Yeah.
with, like, lifelike visual fidelity.
Right.
Or an architect who can, review blueprints
Yeah.
that are superimposed
Wow.
directly onto a real-world construction site.
It's like taking those heads-up displays that you see in
Right.
like sci-fi movies and like
Yeah.
making them real. But
Yeah.
I mean, let's be real for a second. Like
Yeah.
pushing that much visual information, that's going to take some serious horsepower.
What's the performance hit like with this update?
You would think so, right?
Yeah.
You would think that it
Yes.
would just like melt your computer.
Right.
But Varjo, and this is kind of amazing, they've actually managed to reduce the load on your CPU and GPU.
No way.
Yeah, so they've like seriously streamlined the software to
so-
work more efficiently.
Wow.
And they're doing it alongside all of these visual improvements.
That's really elegant, like
Yeah.
they're not just throwing more processing power
Right.
at the problem. They're
So
like,
they're not brute force.
yeah, they're like outsmarting it.
Exactly.
It makes me wonder, like, how much further can they push this? Like,
Yeah.
is there a limit?
Right. Is there a ceiling? I mean, that's the million-dollar question, right?
Right.
But I mean, just based on, Varjo's track record,
Right.
they seem really committed to this, like
Yeah.
constant improvement,
Right.
which suggests to me that they're not done innovating. They've got more up their sleeves.
Okay.
And on top of all that, they've also made the high-resolution area
Well,
much more responsive to your eye movements.
Okay.
So it adjusts, get this, up to 40 milliseconds faster.
Wow, that's quick.
Yeah, so your eyes don't have to do like as much work
Right.
to kind of like track back and forth between real and virtual.
That's huge. I mean, especially if you're talking about like
Yeah.
extended use. I mean, that sounds like it's
huge for eye strain.
no more feeling like you just ran a marathon
Right.
staring at a screen all day.
Exactly. This sounds like a major step towards like making this technology more accessible, more comfortable for like everyday use.
Absolutely. And they've even looked at how that high resolution area blends with your peripheral vision.
Okay.
So they've like smoothed out that transition to create a more natural viewing experience.
Okay, so help me visualize this. Like, what does that actually like look and feel like for the for the person wearing the headset?
Okay, so imagine you're looking at like, I don't know, a detailed diagram on your desk with Varjo Base 4.4. That diagram that's going to be crystal clear in your direct line of sight. But instead of it being like this like harsh cutoff, the objects in your peripheral vision, they just kind of like gradually soften in focus.
Well, it's less like looking through a telescope.
Exactly.
And more like just having like naturally sharp vision that's enhanced by like the XR overlay.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Because that jarring transition between sharp focus and like blurry periphery, that's what often causes people eye strain and headaches in VR.
Right.
So this isn't just about like making the visuals prettier or whatever. This is actually about removing barriers to like wider adoption.
Okay. So what other like hurdles do you see this technology kind of like overcoming in the near future?
I think a big one is this transition from pure escapism to like practical integration with our daily lives. Like early VR, it was all about like shutting out the real world, disappearing into a virtual one. But now, with these advancements in pass-through technology, like we're seeing with, Varjo Base 4.4, we're seeing XR become more of a tool to, like, enhance our reality, not just replace it.
Right. It's not about living in the metaverse. It's about, the metaverse, like, bleeding into our world in helpful ways. Like, I can already imagine, like, architects using this to like overlay blueprints to lead onto like a structure
that's half built or mechanics like seeing repair instructions like superimposed on a car engine.
Exactly. And what's really cool here is that like Varjo's not just focused on visual fidelity. They've also made huge improvements to the accuracy of their inside-out tracking with this update.
Okay, now for those of us who don't speak fluent VR, remind us, like, what is inside-out tracking?
Sure.
And why should I care that it's like 20% better?
So inside-out tracking is basically how the headset uses its onboard sensors to understand its position and orientation in space. So essentially, it's what allows you to, move around freely in VR.
And have the virtual world respond accurately to your movements.
So like a smoother, more seamless connection between like what I'm doing here and what I'm experiencing in XR.
So no more like, glitching through walls or having objects jump around unexpectedly.
Okay.
And so that 20% improvement, it might not sound like a lot. But in practice, it makes a huge difference. It translates to a much more believable and immersive experience.
Right. And I think it highlights something like that is really important in like good design in general, which is it's often the things that you don't notice that make the biggest difference.
100%.
It's when things just work and you don't have to think about it that you can actually like enjoy the experience.
It fades into the background. And then you can just like focus on the task at hand.
Right, whether that's like learning a new skill or collaborating on a project or just,
Or just having fun.
Having fun, right? Like just being present. But, okay, so smooth tracking, I mean, that relies on more than just good software, right? I mean, what about the hardware limitations? Like,
you're right. Yeah, hardware it's a huge part of the equation. And it's definitely an area where we're seeing, tons of innovation. But what's cool about the Varjo update is how much they've been able to achieve just with software. They're basically squeezing more performance out of existing hardware, which I think is huge for making this kind of high-end XR more accessible for people who maybe don't have like the latest and greatest,
the bleeding edge supercomputer. It's like getting a free performance upgrade.
Totally. Yeah. Just install the software.
Just download the update. I mean, that's gotta have competitors like taking notes.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
But speaking of what's next, I mean, this emphasis on user experience, like with Varjo Base 4.4, it makes me wonder, like, what's on the horizon for them and for like, XR more broadly?
Well, if this update is any indication, I think we're going to see a lot more focus on integrating XR with our everyday lives. So like imagine a world where your XR headset just like seamlessly connects with all of your other devices and it adapts to like your surroundings in real time.
So
like let's say you need to check your phone. No problem. A holographic display just pops up in your field of view.
Right.
Or like you're walking into a meeting, your headset recognizes the room, and it just automatically loads the presentation materials.
It's like having like a personal assistant that can like anticipate your needs and just like bridge that gap between like physical and digital.
Exactly.
But okay, so to make that happen, I mean, like what kind of advancements like need to happen?
So I mean, we're already seeing huge strides in areas like eye tracking, spatial audio, haptic feedback.
Right.
And all of these technologies are like they're essential for creating truly immersive and believable XR experiences.
Okay.
And then of course, you know, we need to see continued improvement in processing power, battery life, all that stuff.
Yeah, make them more comfortable, more practical.
Exactly.
But one thing that that I thought was interesting about this Varjo release was like how much emphasis they put on color accuracy and like low light performance. It's not just about resolution and refresh rates anymore. It's about like making the overall visual experience more natural, more comfortable,
more true to life.
Yeah.
And I think you're right to focus on that because as XR moves beyond, you know, gaming and these kind of like niche applications and into the mainstream that focus on like the nuances of the user experience, that's going to be like make or break.
It's got to be a good experience, right?
It's got to be a good experience.
Yeah.
People aren't going to use it if it sucks.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So
yeah, you've got to nail those details.
You got to get the details right.
Yeah, and it seems like Varjo's kind of like on the right track.
They're definitely leading the charge.
Yeah, they're doing some interesting things, but we'll see how it all plays out.
Who knows what the future holds?
Right. Who knows what the future holds?
Right.
All right. Well, that's a good place to pause for now.
Sounds good.
We'll pick this back up in the next one.
Looking forward to it.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. A big one is this transition from pure escapism to practical integration with our daily lives.
Okay.
You know, early VR was all about like shutting out the real world, disappearing into this virtual one.
Yeah.
But now, you know, with these advancements in pass-through, like we're seeing in Varjo Base 4.4, you know, XR is kind of becoming more of a tool to enhance our reality, not replace it.
Right. It's not about living in the metaverse.
Exactly.
It's about the metaverse, like bleeding into our world in you know, useful ways. Like I can imagine architects using this to overlay blueprints onto like a structure that's half built, or like mechanics seeing repair instructions superimposed on like a car engine.
Exactly. And what's really cool here is that Varjo, like they're not just focused on you know, visual fidelity.
Right.
They've also made big improvements to the accuracy of their inside out tracking with this update.
Okay, now for those of us who don't speak fluent VR, remind me, like, what is inside-out tracking, and why should I care that it's like 20% better?
So inside-out tracking, it's basically how the headset uses its onboard sensors to you know, understand its position and orientation in space.
Okay.
So essentially, it's what allows you to move around in VR and have the virtual world respond accurately to your movements.
Like a smoother, more seamless connection between like what I'm doing here and what I'm experiencing in XR.
Yeah, so no more like glitching through walls or having objects kind of like jump around unexpectedly.
Okay.
And that 20% improvement, it might not sound like a lot.
Yeah.
But it makes a really big difference in practice.
Okay.
It translates to a much more believable, immersive experience.
Right. And it kind of highlights like this thing with good design, which is, it's often the things you don't notice that make the biggest difference.
100%.
Right.
Yeah, it just works.
It just works.
You don't have to think about it.
Yeah. And then you can actually like do it.
It fades into the background.
Yeah.
And you can just like focus on what you're doing.
Right. Whether that's learning a new skill, collaborating, or just
having fun.
Having fun, you know, being present.
Yeah.
But smooth tracking, I mean, that relies on more than good software, right?
What about
the hardware?
Hardware is a huge part of it.
Yeah.
And we're seeing a lot of innovation there.
Right.
But what's cool with this Varjo update is how much they've been able to do with just software.
Yeah, right.
They're essentially like squeezing more performance out of the hardware that already exists.
So it makes it more accessible to people who maybe don't have
Exactly, yeah. For people who don't have the latest and greatest, you know.
The bleeding edge, supercomputer.
Right.
Like it's like getting a free performance upgrade.
It is. It's like just install the update.
Download the update, right.
It's great. Yeah, I mean.
That's got to have competitors taking notes.
Yeah, for sure.
But speaking of what's next, this emphasis on user experience with Varjo Base 4.4, it makes me wonder what's on the horizon for them and for, XR in general.
Well, if this update is anything to go by, I think we can expect to see even more focus on integrating XR with our everyday lives.
Right.
So imagine your XR headset is seamlessly connecting with all your devices.
Right.
And it adapts to your surroundings in real time.
Okay.
So you need to check your phone. No problem. A holographic display pops up in your field of view.
Wow.
You're walking into a meeting.
Yeah.
Your headset knows. It recognizes the room and automatically loads up like a presentation.
It's like having a personal assistant that can anticipate your needs and bridge that gap between physical and digital.
Exactly.
But to make that happen,
I
mean, what kind of advancements need to happen?
So, I mean, we're seeing big strides in eye tracking, spatial, audio, haptic feedback. All of those are essential for those really immersive, believable XR experiences. And then, of course, continued improvement in processing power, battery life, all that good stuff.
Make them more comfortable, more practical to use.
Exactly.
But one thing I thought was interesting about this Varjo release was how much they emphasized color accuracy and low light performance.
Yeah.
It's not just about resolution and refresh rates anymore.
It's about the whole.
It's about the overall experience, making it more
experience. Natural, more
true to life.
Yeah.
And I think, that's really important as XR moves, beyond gaming and those kind of niche applications into the mainstream.
Right. That focus on those little details of the user experience is going to be make or break.
Yeah, it's got to be a good experience. People aren't going to use it if it sucks.
Right. You got to get those details right.
It's one thing to talk about it, right?
Yeah.
Seamless integration, mind-blowing visuals, but a whole other thing to actually do it.
Totally.
And I think what impresses me about Varjo is they're not just
they're not messing around.
Yeah, they're not just throwing buzzwords around. They're
it's not hype.
Yeah, they're laser focused on those details that
they're the real deal.
Yeah.
They're actually building it.
Yeah, and they're making a difference in the experience.
Right. And to me that's huge.
Yeah.
It says a lot about how seriously they're taking this.
Yeah.
They're committed to creating not just innovative XR, but user-centered XR.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
They get it.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just push the tech for the sake of it. You got to
it's got to work for the humans.
Yeah, it's got to work for people
on the other side.
Yeah, on the other side of the headset, right.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think that's where, their emphasis on things like color accuracy and low light performance really comes through because what good is a super high-res display if the colors look all janky or
it's like those early HD TVs.
Yes.
They had more pixels, but everything looked terrible.
It looked worse.
It did look worse.
Right, because the colors were all off.
Yeah, it was too sharp.
It was all it was just like you were looking through, I don't know.
It was weird.
Yeah, it wasn't right.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why getting those details right is it's so crucial.
Right.
It's about making it.
It's the little things,
Yes, it's the little thing.
It's about because if you can remove those barriers,
those little annoyances.
Yeah, those little things that pull you out of the experience.
Yeah, where you're like, oh, right, I'm wearing a headset.
I'm wearing a headset. This isn't real.
This is fake.
Yeah.
You want to forget about that.
And it seems very deliberate. Like, it's not an accident that they're like...
It's very intentional.
So focused on user experience.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like they're really tuned into...
Yeah, they're listening to their users.
What their users,
100%.
want and need.
I mean, one of the things that I've always been impressed by with Varjo is how much they solicit feedback from their users, and they actually listen to it.
They incorporate it.
They incorporate it into...
And we've seen that in this update,
A lot of the features, a lot of the improvements, they're direct responses to things that users were, asking for, saying they wanted.
That's great.
Which is huge. It's huge.
Yeah, because it seems like so often it's like companies are just so busy
chasing the next.
Yeah, chasing the next
shiny thing,
shiny object, or
Yeah, trying to impress us with specs,
yeah, and it's like, have you actually used this?
Yeah, have you talked to a person? Have you an actual human being?
Right, yeah, and so it's
Yeah, so it's refreshing to see, Varjo actually putting their money where their mouth is.
Yeah, they're walking the walk.
They're walking the walk.
And they're not just talking the talk, which is
exactly.
Which is awesome, and I think that makes me, cautiously optimistic about the future of all of this.
Me too.
It's
there's a lot to be excited about.
Yeah, there is a lot to be excited about, and I think you know what? It's not just about the technology, right?
No, it's about
It's about understanding
how it fits
into our lives, how it makes things better, right?
Yeah, exactly. How it makes us better.
Yeah.
How it helps us, do more, learn more, experience more.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Well said.
I think the future of XR is it's looking pretty bright.
It is looking pretty bright.
And Varjo is definitely a big part of that.
It's been really fascinating to kind of get under the hood.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Of this update and really
dig into the details.
Yeah, unpack it and what it means for
for what's next.
For what's next, and to everyone listening, I mean, we encourage you to
keep that curiosity alive.
Yeah, keep that sense of wonder.
Don't just take our word for it.
Yeah, do your own deep dives.
Go explore.
Yeah, explore.
Get your hands dirty,
There you go. And until next time, keep diving deep.
Keep diving